Welcome to the Talk and Chatter Experience, powered by Gasoline Alley Harley Davidson. Today's guest is a name that's very familiar around motorsport. Welcome, Paul Weel.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
Mate, appreciate you coming up. It's been something I wanted to do for ages, so thanks for coming in.
Yeah, it's cool.
Who's Paul Weel?
Well, these days, ex-V8 Supercar driver.
Yep.
And sort of ex-PWR Performance Products, which is a company I started with my old man 20-something years ago now. Wow. And over in 2016, we floated on the Australian Stock Exchange.
Yep.
And I decided after that I'd leave and go and do my own thing and enjoy the fruits of life, and sort of went down that path for the last few years, and now back racing again, which is awesome and good fun.
Was that a huge step for you to get out of it at that time, like after being floated?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, massive step. You put your heart and soul into something that you started from nothing. It was me in the corner of my old man's shed at K&J Thermal Products when he had that before he sold that. Getting a radiator, bending up the tanks, learning how to weld, which it wasn't really pretty at the start. Learning how to weld, doing all that sort of stuff, and going from one person to do it, and then going to getting another person, and then my old man going, hey, you got to actually start paying for everything that you're getting these days now. Right. And, so I used to go in the factory and go, hey mate, can you make this for me, and can you make that for me, and get everything together, and then it got to a stage of got customers coming in and ordering stuff, and that was how PWR was started.
Wow. That's a huge story. From obviously K&J Thermal was the original iteration. Did you know anything about coolers at that point, like growing up? Yeah,
well, growing up, my old man had been manufacturing radiators since I was probably 3 or 4 years old.
Wow.
And so being from a family that was very much hard working, there was no even as a kid, on a weekend you'd come into work and sweep the floors, and so being around that sort of radiator environment for from when I was could almost, I could walk by then, and all that sort of stuff from early age, you just sort of grow into it, and you get to learn from the bottom up of how something is made, and what and why it's made that way.
Yep.
And I suppose that was probably one of the biggest things of why PWR is so successful, is that we knew how to do exactly everything, and we could do it ourselves. Also, we were also on the floor, the workshop floor, every day, working side by side everyone else. Not sitting in an office, throwing out orders and all that sort of stuff, and working side by side. So, there wasn't a job that we couldn't do, where, a lot of businesses, people who either, in the hierarchy of the business, managers or, general managers, CEOs, stuff like that, they don't actually understand how, especially in manufacturing, how to make the part or the product. They might know how to sell it, or might know how to run the business, but I think that's a really important part of it.
That's a really different path too from engineering to sale, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
A lot of people can import a product and sell it.
Yep.
But when you got to do both under one hat, that's a big different story, hey?
Yeah, exactly right. And that was the biggest thing that we always sort of try to put into people who we employed. Didn't make a difference if it was engineers or if it was salesmen, if it's people in the office, accountants and everything like that. We try to make sure that everyone knew how the product is getting made and what was happening on the floor. And I think that's probably why PWR is so successful, and to this day is more successful than a lot of the competitors, and especially in Australia, the competitors in Australia, and then why they've been able to take so much business away from people overseas.
That's, obviously having people on the actual ground, eh?
Yeah.
There's a big part to that.
Yep.
Where was K&J originally?
So K&J was originally started in Victoria, in Warrnambool.
Oh, really?
So a little place in Warrnambool down there. And, the Warrnambool's famous for the Premier Speedway, for the Classic, the sprint car race. That's where we were started. And then when we moved up here to the Gold Coast when I was about 6.
Wow.
And so we were in Currumbin there for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And then the late 2000s, about 2007, 2008, we built the building at Yatala for PWR.
Yeah.
And now they've run out of room there.
Seriously?
So they keep on trying to find more buildings, which is a problem, but a good problem to have.
As a past life of what I've done previously for work, I've been into your buildings.
Yep.
And the way the business must have evolved must have been huge, obviously, with, electronic machines and stuff. Massive, hey?
Yeah, massively now. What they've got there, the amount of CNC machines, the amount of laser cutters, the computer-aided machines, as in, to do the quality control of measuring and everything like that, is humongous. Each time I go there now, and I go, well, what's new? What's this? What's that? And
what's the new toy?
Yeah, what's the new toy? And there's always something new, which is really good. And you got to, I think, to be in a cutting edge of motorsport and cutting edge of cooling of what they do. You've got to have that sort of stuff, and that's always the best thing about PWR, and more so now, because the amount of money that they've got to be able to actually go and invest in new machinery and invest in the latest technology is humongous, and they're doing really good. They're investing a lot of money for the future, and they're investing in people also. Like there's, I think, worldwide there's close to 300 odd people that work for PWR now. They invested in a new manufacturing plant in Indianapolis, in the assembly plant that we had there, so they can manufacture anything there now, pretty similar to what they do here, which is really, really good. When we bought the plant in Indianapolis was a company called CNR Racing, and they were a competitor of ours when we first went in 2008 to NASCAR. They had the whole field, and so we went in from being over this side of the world and took the half of their business off them within the first 6 months. And so we said to them, well, do you want us to, because all they did was they bought radiators, cores from here, there and everywhere. Yeah. They didn't manufacture the cores themselves. And we said, well, how about we sell the cores to you, and then we can stop competing and doing stuff like that. So we did that first, and then we said to them, well, how about we actually buy you guys out and take over business, which we did. And so they put an extension on that building, and last year, I think it was, they ended up putting a full manufacturing plant there, so which is pretty cool. Yeah. And there's 2 or 3 Aussies over there who are running it. There's some engineers there, Aussie engineers, who come up through the system in PWR here, where they done their internships and all that, finish off from their uni degrees at PWR, and a couple of them are in the States now, living over there, working over there with PWR, and have progressed through the system. And that's always been one of the biggest things that we've always done, is try to promote within, and also have people work from the ground level up, which is, I think, a really cool thing.
When you went to the States, was it frowned upon? Like going into NASCAR has obviously been a pretty it's like a big family, I'm guessing.
Yep.
To come from Australia into that must have been a pretty big step, eh?
Yeah, pretty big step. I think it's the biggest thing was that it's sort of like V8 Supercars at the start here, when we first started supplying some people V8 Supercars. In there with cores. People used to buy what they could get.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so they didn't have that option or didn't have that choice. And, that was the biggest thing when we went to NASCAR, was that we said to them, well, hang on, what do you want? and they'd never had that before,
Service.
And that was the thing where, if you've got one of the whole fields of something, and there's no competition, well, you sort of dictate to what there is. So that was the thing with NASCAR was, CNR had the whole NASCAR field, and they just done what they done. And so we went to Roush Fenway Racing, which was one of the biggest NASCAR teams there is, and it's probably a little bit smaller now, but it was at the time with Jack Roush. And we said to him, Keys, my old man said to him, he done the first trip, and he said, well, we can give you this product, we can give you better service, we can give you a lighter product, but we won't be cheaper, we'll be more expensive.
Yeah.
And that was the thing of how we wanted to get in there. Was we didn't want to get in there on price. We want to get in there on service, quality of a product, better cooling, everything like that. And and Jack Roush said, well, we don't want to buy it cheaper, because that's not why we want you guys to supply us. We want you guys to supply us the best thing you can, and that which we did. And it was the best thing that we could do was we'd done everything that we said we could do. We're on the other side of the world. We would turn a radiator around quicker than what someone in their own country could do for them.
Wow.
And that's how we got the business.
Yep.
And if there was an issue, we're always, either straight on the phone at, midnight or on a plane or anything like that. And, the service that we could give them was so much better. Because we knew that how important it is from actually being racers as well, of how important it is. And, like a NASCAR team is massive. Like, they got, some of them have 300-400 people there. They might run 5 or 6 different teams. In the peak of when NASCAR was massive, there was 5 or 6 different teams under one roof.
Wow.
Under one owner. And the amount of money, $20 or $30 million for a main sponsor for the year.
It's huge.
It was massive. So, we sort of understood the importance as racers ourselves of what we had to do to be able to service these people and give them the best product and give them the best service from the other side of the world, because, you're not there day to day.
Mate, that must have been a huge part, having that foundation in racing, hey, to support it.
Yeah, I think so. I think the biggest thing was it actually made the customers realise, they realised more of that we knew our product. And we tested our product. We tested our product in our own race cars, all that sort of stuff. So that makes a massive difference. And understanding that sort of industry, the racing industry, of how, they don't really plan that well, some people.
Yep.
And, hang on, I'm going racing on the weekend. I need a radiator. And being able to react, as in the service side, was a massive thing. These days now that it's a little bit harder because of the size of the company and everything like that. But they still, still see them do a really good job of reacting to, try to help people.
How would it, say a NASCAR team, say they go to the Brickyard 400, right? Would they go through, at the end of a weekend, would they service a radiator, or would it be just to replace it out? What would happen in NASCAR, for instance?
It all changes all the time. Depends on team, but, they'll mileage it. Mileage it out.
Serviceable part.
Yeah, they'll say, okay, well, we might run this for, I don't know, 600 miles or 1,000 miles or whatnot. Or it depends on where they're racing, of how much, debris they get picked up.
Like Bristol the other way.
Yeah, like Bristol, there'd be a fair bit.
Yeah.
And there was times when there was teams just running a radiator every race.
Damn.
We made one radiator back in the day for was when Carl Edwards was at Roush Fenway Racing, and he was running for the championship, and we made a radiator. Our standard radiator was something like, I think it was 7 kilos or something like that. And we made this radiator, and it was all handmade. Every single part of it was handmade, and it was 4 kilos.
Wow.
And it was basically you'd make one, you'd cross your fingers, and hopefully it stayed together or it'd come out right. And they'd run that just one race. That's it.
Mate, after doing engineering for so many years with your business, to save that weight, you must just flip.
Oh, it was unbelievable. We made a lot of tooling to, if it was a 2-piece tube where the water runs through that joined together, then it had to braze together properly. And everything was so hard to actually, it was really hard to manufacture.
Yep.
And it was a great challenge for the engineering group. But, as the guys on the floor trying to manufacture it, it was really hard.
Yeah.
But everyone, it was a good thing about PWR, engineering, the, production, the welding, every part there come together to actually be able to produce it. And they all, had a hand in it. It wasn't like the engineering group said, oh, yeah, here we go. That's your part now. You guys finish that off.
Yep.
Everyone helped. Everyone got in and made it happen.
Mate, that's huge. NASCAR, I don't know the stats, but some of the teams back that probably pre-GFC sort of time, we're talking about 40, 50 cars in the shed, hey?
Yeah, there'd be
like a Joe Gibbs race. And
exactly.
Like that.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. Some of these places that you walk through over there is just humongous. You got Hendrick Motorsport, Joe Gibbs, Roush Fenway. The history of the sport is mega, and how they produce everything and what they do, and the engineering side is mega as well, because you think, well, hang on, what are these guys doing? They're running around in a circle. It can't be too hard. But the drag and the how the wind goes over the car and not under the car and all this sort of stuff is really cool. Like you think, they're doing 200 odd mile an hour in a NASCAR, in a brick, really.
That's right. Yeah.
Around a course.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. And the size of the teams and the amount of money they have to be able to invest in what they do and how to get that 1/10 more or get that little bit extra is quite amazing. It's probably changed. Well, it's probably changed a little bit now because they've gone to more of a sort of a restricted style of
parity.
And that, I know with PWR, they supply all 3 series with a standard cooler now.
Yep.
So we've tried to reduce costs in the series because it's it's like everywhere, it's getting harder and harder. So I think it's sort of like here with supercars, how they try to reduce the costs and stuff like that. Your teams are the good teams are still going to rise to the top.
Usually costs don't reduce.
No, it actually usually costs more.
Yeah.
Because they spend more money around of how can we get around this.
Yeah.
And usually that's what happens.
That's where it goes. Yeah. It's and it's like when MotoGP, they try and slow it down, but the corner speed improves. Let's reduce the capacity, but we'll just get more corner speed.
Yeah, exactly.
Is this safer? Probably not.
But, that's right.
And it happens in every facet of motorsport.
Yeah.
So, but that's parity, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Now, where did it all start for you? You're motocross, is that right?
Yeah, motocross. I started racing flat track at Mike Hatch's for a mate of mine when we at school.
Yeah, right.
When we first moved up here, I was probably about 7 or 8.
Yep.
And then started racing motocross. So raced motocross until I was 16.
Yeah, right.
And that we ran the factory Kawasaki team in Australia. I was a junior at the time, and we always had a senior rider. So we had Stephen Andrews ride for us back in the early 90s. So he was a pretty good rider back in the early 90s.
Right.
And then we ran a team still with Kawasaki up until about the I think late 90s,
right.
96, 97, somewhere like that. We had a young guy who was a young pro senior guy guy called Joel Elliott who rode for us. He was out of Curry, and he rode for us for 2 years here, and then we used to go overstates to America and go and race for 3 months a year.
Wow.
And so we went to Mammoth Mountain. It was in their summer over there, and it was one of the world's biggest amateur races. Where they have hundreds and hundreds of competitors
On the edge of Yosemite National Park.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we went there. He was racing at a Supercross here, flew over, had a crash before he flew over, and he had fluid on the spine, unfortunately. And so we had organised a ride for him with Star Yamaha, which was a factory 125 support Yamaha team for the main team, AMA Supercross and Motocross. And so unfortunately he didn't get to ride. And while we were over there, he was getting medical treatment and stuff like that. And then, so he had a clearance to ride. And unfortunately, we were at, I think it was Star West or Paris Raceway somewhere, doing a night practice session there under lights. And he had a seizure while he was riding. And passed out, crashed, hopped back up. And basically then 30 seconds later, dropped to the floor and passed away, right in front of all of us, which was pretty sad because he was I think he was 18. One of the best motocross riders and supercross riders that Australia had seen in years, especially at that age. He died of an aneurysm on his brain that they didn't pick up, and so that was really, really, really sad time for all of us. And so he come from the same area as what Chad Reed comes from, down there in New South Wales, in that Maitland area. And he was basically, he was a guy who was going to probably do what Chad had done over there now. He was to the same sort of caliber, very talented, very fast, natural, just like Chad is. So we come back from there, mid-90s with that, and which was pretty bad. And then I kept on. I raced for another year or so, and then I turned 16, which here you can turn pro when you're 16. And so I was about to go to the States and do a year in the States. And we used to have a series in summer up north that a guy called John Fenton used to run, which was Queensland Supercross Series. And so we're doing Cairns, Townsville, you work your way down. And unfortunately, I smashed both my wrists in a practice session up there I think it was in Townsville. And that come up short on a triple jump. And so then, had like 8-9 weeks off for all that, and then sort of come back and didn't really want to do it anymore after that.
Bit of a bad taste.
It was a bit of bad taste, and probably was first sort of major thing. I don't know why. It was sort of been a little bit of a wuss, probably. But so then I stopped. I was doing an apprenticeship as a toolmaker at the time at K&J Thermal, and so I just went back and worked and everything like that, and then. It was funny. We went when we were in America, a couple of years before that. We went and had a look at Walker Evans, the stadium trucks.
All right.
So there used to be a Mickey Thompson stadium truck series over there, which was massive. We used to have them at the Coliseum, all that sort of stuff, massive crowds, and then. I think the series went bust over there, so a lot of people...
Similar to nowadays stuff?
On dirt.
Yeah,
on dirt.
Yeah.
So it used to be in, stadiums, basically the same as a Supercross. They come in, put all the dirt in, make all the jumps and everything like that. So we went and had a look at those cars to buy to bring back here because people were bringing them back here, we didn't do it. And then some guys ended up bringing those cars back, and we thought, they had them for sale. So we thought, well, we'll go and have a look at that and buy them. Sort of similar to a motocross bike, but you got a cage and four wheels, and
it's gonna be safer.
Heaps safer. And So I think I was 17, and we went to the first race in Canberra, and so we went there, and I was pretty quick, but didn't have any panels left on the car. A couple of guys wanted to fight me, and all that sort of stuff, which sort of happens. So it was pretty cool, and we went and raced those, which was really, really, really awesome.
Do you remember what they were powered by at that time?
Well, this had a specially built Dodge engine.
Wow.
Hand built. The V in it was so tight that it was just impossible. I think there's still one truck here. I think Danny Reedy's got one of the trucks.
Wow.
Still, and it was unbelievable. Like the technology in them, back in the late 90s was awesome compared to even probably now.
Yep.
And they were just so fun to drive. You had big jumps, you could roll them, land back on wheels, and
awesome.
Away you go.
Yep.
So we ran that series for 1 year, and at the time, we won the series, and at the time, Yokohama was the sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
And so after the first race, the guy from Yokohama, who was a motorsport manager, comes up and goes, "Oh, well, hey, we'll sponsor you. We'll give you tyres. We'll do this and do that," and which was cool. And so that's where the involvement with V8 Supercars come along. Was that he said, "Well, hey, why don't you guys have a look at doing V8 Supercars?"
Mm.
And so we started looking around. We went to Bathurst, had a look, and we went and had a look at a Commodore from Larry Perkins' place to buy.
Yep.
We went and had a look at a Ford, a few different things, and then we decided, well, we'll go and buy a Ford because it was cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And we bought Steve Ellery's Ford. He's I think it was EL Ford.
Yep.
Which was from Tony Longhurst's place, and we started our own team with a couple of guys who we knew who worked at some other V8 Supercar places.
Wow.
In the corner of a shed at the factory, and went and raced. The first time we went and raced something at Lakeside was the first time we drove it. And
I'm going to ask you about this.
So we decided that we would drive around at Currumbin in Traders Way, where we were, was a U-shape street.
Wow.
And so we decided at night, it was 7, 8 o'clock at night, I better work out if I can change the gears.
So you've never driven it?
Never driven it, yeah. So we drove up and down the street working out how to change the gears and all that sort of stuff. So that was the first time I drove a V8 Supercar on the road.
Hey, that's crazy. Crazy time.
Mm-hmm. And then we went to Lakeside and done it. Was I don't know what sort of series it was. There was a couple, one at Lakeside, one at Eastern Creek. Mm-hmm. We done that, and then we had decided, well, we'll go race the Supercar series in 1998.
So you never come from karts or nothing?
No, nothing. No.
Damn.
No, never driven on a tarmac road or racetrack or anything. Any
Purely motocross background.
Motocross and a little bit of car driving over jumps. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yes.
Yep.
So a fair bit of difference of what normal people
especially nowadays
do. Yeah, nowadays. It's go-karts, all the way through, and then your formulas and all that sort of stuff. So fair bit different. And so there was a test day at Calder Park, and so with Cam's, Cam said, well, you have to get everyone to sign off, and that so that we can give you a license. And I was like, okay, well, that's cool.
Yep.
And so we went there, test day, everything like that. Everyone was pretty good, and we, sign off for a license and everything like that. And unfortunately, I'd pissed off John Faulkner.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow, I think I got in his way on the track,
wow.
and I pissed him off. And he wasn't going to sign it off. He had the shits with me, but anyway, he signed it off, and we got our license and went to I think Sandown was the first race we ever had, and went there and made it through the weekend without killing myself or anyone else.
Awesome. In an EL
Falcon,
Mate, I have a memory, and I tried to look for it on the net. I can't find it, but Lakeside, probably the same year, because it was an EL Falcon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Didn't something happen with one of Queensland's favourite sons or something? with yourself. Would that be right or
Yes.
wrong?
Yeah, that'd be right.
I got
That'd be
this
right.
memory as a child. I remember being at the races, and it's the year after Peter Brock retired.
Yep.
And something happened there, hey?
Yes, I did. I was getting lapped by Dick Johnson, and wasn't really funny at the time. Funny now, but getting lapped by Dick Johnson, and he had John Bowe right behind him, which was his teammate.
Okay. Yep.
And so coming onto the main straight, I could see that they had caught me and they'll go lap me. So coming onto the main straight, and you actually see it on the footage too. My hand was out the window pointing for him to go up the inside of me. And anyway, he ran into the back of me and spun himself. And I believe that was the last race that Dick was actually winning and could have won before he retired.
Serious?
Apparently so.
Yeah.
And so anyway, after the race, he didn't come and say anything to me or any like that. And Barry Sheen, who was good mates with Dick, come up and he goes, Cock, you know that wasn't your fault. And I went, yeah, I know that. And he goes, oh, I can't believe that. Can't believe that he ran into you.
Really?
Yeah. And then I had Bowley come up and I saw Bowley. I was walking and Bowley goes, mate, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
I said, yeah, you're saying don't worry about it because you won the race.
Yeah, it helped me.
Yeah.
Hey.
So, but that was my first year of racing V8s. And I got in the way of a Queensland Supercar legend who
At Lakeside.
Sort of like probably being, doing something silly in some other sport with one of the legends of the sport. But
Cool.
that's what happened. And
I was there. And I remember. And I was looking on the net. I'm like, I remember something happened. I remember yourself, and I don't remember what it was exactly. But that's it. How was it driving that car? Was that good? Do you remember?
Yeah, Supercars was pretty cool. At that time, it was really cool.
They were all cool cars, and
they were cool cars.
Yep.
Nothing like a road car. We had, they were more like a road car than what the cars are now. You could say. So at least the panels were road car panels.
Yep.
But there's nothing inside. There's you strip all the inside out and away you go. I remember Ford used to, manufacture shells for Ford teams, and they'd pull them off the production line at a certain part of the production line down at Ford. So none of the sound deadening or anything like that was put in. So they used to do that, and then I'm not sure about the Holden guys what they did.
Yeah.
But I know when we went to Holden back in 2003. They used to actually supply the car and parts to us.
Oh, really?
So you used to get a side roof, floor, and everything like that. It was probably easier that way a little bit. I think now, like all the panels were the standard panels and everything like that. And then now, like there are some models of supercars that we've been through iterations of where, the doors are a special door because it's only half because the body's too long or whatnot. So, you could say, they're more of back then they were more of a road car or closer to a road car than what you could ever be compared to these days.
Compared to now. Yeah. Definitely. The say that EL era and that, like you would have been working in a workshop just like a mechanic's bay, I'm guessing, compared to what it would be now to run a team and your later years of a team. How was that?
Yeah, it's just, I think it's more, it's more raw racing.
Yeah.
Where, a guy who could go and afford a race car.
Yep.
I think we paid $150,000 for that EL.
Is that what they were back
then that we bought? You could go and race. You didn't have to race a whole championship or anything like that. You could go and race here or there, wherever you wanted to, or how many times a year you wanted to go and race if you had a license.
Yep.
And you could go with your mates, sort of. That sort of style of racing.
Yep.
Is probably more enjoyable than where it is where it costs millions and millions of dollars to go and race with supercars now. And the pressure and having sponsors and all that sort of stuff, back in that era is probably more enjoyable. for a lot of the guys, and especially the guys who were sort of, might have had a good business and stuff like that, and wanted to be able to, do a few races.
Yep.
I think the professionalism of it, has grown obviously
For sure.
through the years, which has made a massive difference.
What I see, I think, is like there's like a back then there was a lot of like bush smarts, I guess you'd say, sort of thing. Like you have a look at like Paul Romano's cars.
Mm-hmm.
You have a look at Tony Longness was building the cars out of the Gold Coast.
Yep.
Yourself having cars. Stone Brothers were building their own car. Like a lot of people were turning their hands at building their own stuff.
Yeah.
Now there's only a couple that really will do the whole package, isn't there? Really.
Yeah. Well, most back then, most teams used to build their own cars.
The whole lot. Eh?
The whole lot.
Perkins Engineering. All of them.
A lot of teams. A lot of teams definitely built their own cars. Maybe not engines, but definitely cars.
Yep.
Because you could go and buy. You go and buy your gearbox.
Yep.
You go and buy your rear end, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
All that, and then you could put everything together and build everything. A lot of teams would outsource cages to be done. Peter Behag here on the Gold Coast used to do a lot of the Ford stuff.
Oh, okay.
With just the cages.
Yep.
But the fit out of the car and everything like that, the teams used to do themselves. You look at Stone Brothers, they built their own stuff. Dick's guys used to build their own stuff. And you're right, now there's not that many. They do it. Triple Eight obviously do a lot of the Commodore stuff for everyone. Supply a lot of the parts, a lot of common parts too.
Yeah.
For everyone. So
like you look at the pedal boxes, the wheel sets, the everything.
Exactly, and Walkinshaws used to do it. Like when we were there at Walkinshaws, they had Dencar used to build all the cars, which is a separate business for the three teams, which was really cool. With good quality. They used to supply engines for the three teams.
Wow.
All that sort of stuff. It was a big sort of production area for the Commodores, and that was before Triple Eight come along. Then you look at the Ford side. There's not really many people. There's Dick's up here still.
Yep.
Which they won't sell cars.
They won't. It's just the two cars.
Just the two cars.
Yep.
Or especially the Penske thing last year, they wouldn't sell the cars.
Yep.
You look at Tickford.
Yeah.
And then now you look at Kelly's. Kelly's are doing their own stuff. They changed to the Mustangs, and they're doing their own stuff. It's a totally different era of being able to actually someone rocking up, buy a car, go racing.
Yeah.
Now you got to have a cast of thousands,
Yeah.
And the expense is more expensive, and unfortunately, like we were talking about with NASCAR, with the rules of how they try to restrict and try to contain costs and everything like that. Sometimes that goes against them, and it actually costs a lot more. And I think over the years, supercars have tried to do the right thing.
Definitely.
Of that, try to do it, but it's probably backfired on a lot of them. And, it makes it very, very difficult for a lot of the teams, especially for smaller teams, very difficult to be able to stay in racing and everything like that, where, your bigger guys can do it because they've got the sponsors and they've got the drivers, the name drivers and all that sort of stuff. So, it's very hard.
It'd be hard, even just going back to the smaller team now, it'd be hard to have a small team to keep up with the rules. Just there's the rule of evolution and the way they change and that.
Yeah.
You need someone just dedicated to keeping that track, I think now. So
exactly. It's, I think it's harder with the less people, it's harder. And even though they have restrictions on, how many people can go over a race and all that sort of stuff, it's still in the workshop of what you can do and everything like that. But it's also harder because we're so small as a country, the limited amount of people that we have. And I think, the amount of hours all of these mechanics that work at race teams work, and, a lot of them get burnt out, and it's hard for people to get into race teams also.
Motorsport's a hard thing, isn't it?
It is, and you lose. It's amazing how many people you actually lose out of motorsport, and good people.
Yeah.
Because they just get burnt out, or they get used up by people. Some people don't appreciate them or what they've done.
Yep.
Then you get the other ones that just do the full circle of life. They come through one team, through another team, through another team, back, and then they come back around and go, oh, we'll start again.
Yep. And then keep going around the revolver. Yeah. How did you go? Like you're running Kawasaki team,
Yep.
right? How does someone go from running a Kawasaki team to running a supercar setup? Oh, that's a huge change, eh?
Well, massive change, yeah.
How do you do that?
We just winged it.
Really? At the time? It was,
Yeah, really, yeah, we just winged it.
looking back on it, is that how it was?
Yeah.
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 That's cool.
Yeah. That's sort of most of, it's sort of like, trying to take big bites out of something.
Yeah.
And, the bigger the bite, the more risk you take. But if you chew like hell and put the hard work in, you can, you can try to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose that's what we've sort of done all our lives with business, is we've taken a risk, taken a massive bite and chewed like hell.
Yeah.
And just done whatever we could to make it work.
Yep.
Motorsport's no different way from when we first started to it until, basically until the end of it, of supercars. We had a very competitive team towards the end, or the early 2000s or mid 2000s, I should say. Very competitive team. We had Jason Bright drive for us. We could have won. I think. Well, if there wasn't a Marcus Ambrose here, we would have won championships. We finished second, I think, once, and third once to Marcus. We had Greg Murphy drive for us.
It's a fantastic list of drivers through the years, hey?
Yeah, there's really good parts of it, where we could have actually, if one thing had to turn another way instead of the way it did, could have been a lot different, could have had, won a championship or whatnot. But, that's just life with everything, We got to a stage with the supercars where it was, okay, well, I know I did, I didn't actually enjoy it anymore because it was difficult, because you weren't getting the results, and you're getting frustrated with engineers, and you're getting frustrated with how you're going. And it got to a stage where it was, well, hang on, I don't actually enjoy turning up to go racing. I know that sounds weird. People go, well, geez, why wouldn't you enjoy that? It's better than a 9-to-5 job. But on the flip side of that, I had a business that we had started that was sort of to that stage of either it takes off and you put everything into it, or it just does the similar type of thing as what I was doing.
Yep.
Pardon me. So that's where I made the decision back in 2006 was, well, I don't enjoy this anymore, and business starting to take off. So let's go and concentrate on the business.
Mate, I wonder how many drivers, and I bet you it's a lot, that say that they're not enjoying it at a time, hey?
Oh, exactly. And I think, it doesn't make a difference what sport it is. I think people get burnt out too. Because most of us from an early age are doing motorsport, or you're doing a sport.
Yep.
A lot of people who do it professionally from that early age of 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it may be, are doing it, and they've been doing it for 20 or 30 years. And it gets to a stage of where it burns you out, or it can burn you out, or you lose that passion for it.
Every conversation you have.
Yeah.
Everything you do.
Yeah.
It's just that, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where it got to, for me, it got to a stage of where it just, I didn't enjoy turning up to the tracks. I didn't enjoy the racing part.
Yep.
But I didn't enjoy anything else after that. As in, having to deal with sponsors, or deal with this, or deal with that, or deal with, issues.
Yeah. Yep.
That you didn't enjoy it. And I was like, well, hang on, I don't enjoy it. We've got this business over here that could be really good.
Yep.
So let's go and put our effort into that. And that's really what happened, with why we left Supercars and left sort of motorsport for a couple of years.
You said the name before, Marcus Ambrose.
Yep.
What did he have that was good? What was it? Because it was incredible.
Mongrel. Mongrel.
Just that, eh? Yeah.
Determination.
Yep.
And a shitload of talent. I drove with Marcus in 2002 at Bathurst and the 500 race, which was Queensland Raceway.
AUs.
Yes. And, he was a different person at the track compared to away from the track.
Really?
Marcus's thing was I go to do a job, and that is to drive. And people say, sort of say that he was arrogant and stuff like that, and probably a bit not rude, but on the sort of border of it.
Yep.
And he didn't like really dealing with fans and all that sort of stuff that much. But as a Ford, people with Ford fans loved him.
He could do no wrong.
Because he was winning.
Yeah.
It didn't make a difference about anything else.
Yeah. Yep.
And, that's why he was so successful. He went to the States. He done things that people wouldn't do.
Yep.
As in, someone here who'd won a couple of championships, who was at the top of their game, getting paid good dollars, wouldn't just go, okay, well, you know what, I'm out of here. And I'm going to go to America and start off at the bottom. Which he'd done that prior when he was, left Australia to go to Europe to try to chase a Formula One dream.
Yep.
And, he was very successful, very quick and very good. But, it's back in the day like it is now, or even worse now, where unless you have, money behind you from some oil company in wherever, or your friend's dad's the president of whatever country it is, and they have oil, or whatever it might be, you can't get to Formula One.
It's just not possible.
It's just not possible. It doesn't make a difference how talented you are.
No.
Unless you have the money, you can't get there. So, that was like that when he was over there also, and that's why he came back to Australia, was because, he didn't have the money to be able to keep on continuing.
Yep.
And, he could have probably went to IndyCar. I know he went and done an Indy Lights test the year before he actually started Supercars.
Oh, really?
Because we raced where IndyCar used to do Honda. When Honda was a sponsor, they used to do a thing called the Young Guns. Oh. And they done it for a couple of years. And I done the first year with Marcus. They picked 10 guys who are under the age of 21 or 22 or something like that. And then if you won the race, you get an IndyCar test or Indy Lights test.
Wow.
So he went and tested over in America, and he was quite quick and all that sort of stuff, but he didn't have the money to.
Yep.
It was another thing you had to pay. You had to pay to be able to do the series, and he didn't have that money to be able to do that. But you take your hat off to that guy, because he went to the States, started at the bottom, and he was very successful. Sure, he didn't win an oval race. People will go, well, he didn't win an oval race. Well, a lot of people haven't won an oval race.
That's right.
He won a road course race. He come very close to winning oval races. I used to go over there, when I was for work trips and stuff like that. A couple of times stayed at his place there. Mark's a great guy. It got to a stage where, I could understand, for him, where you would get burnt out doing 30-something race weekends a year. Then you got to do your sponsorship stuff. Then you got to do, your testing. And everything like that. It's only 50.
It's a job, eh?
It's only 52 weeks.
Yeah, it doesn't take much.
You're doing 38 race weekends. So you can understand why he wanted to come back, and I think for him, it was probably a wrong decision come back into Supercars.
I think so.
And where he could have just come back and done nothing, but he made that choice, and that's what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think probably the passion wasn't still there to a certain point of what it was before he left.
Yep.
But the technology had changed a fair bit, and then from what he'd been driving, I don't think there was no lack of talent. Its talent was always still there.
Yeah.
But it was just different era.
So much had changed in that it was 9 years or something.
Yeah, something like
fair
that.
while,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So what I appreciate too is I went over to Indianapolis. I went over and seen him race NASCAR, and he was a bit of a fan favorite.
Yeah.
Like he'd build himself up to being a fan favorite over in the States. There's people walking around with Stanley shirts and Stanley flags, and
Yeah.
you know, it's pretty cool to see. So
Yeah, he done an awesome job over there.
pre-social media too.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
you can't. Nowadays, it's easy to create a profile that can go international.
Yep.
But when he went over in 2005 or whatever, that wasn't a thing. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
pretty
right.
Cool. So
Yeah, it was cool.
what do you reckon of NASCAR when you're there? It's pretty good, eh?
Oh, it's pretty cool. We went to I went to Bristol,
yeah.
Tennessee. So it's the shortest
Yep.
track in the series,
Highest bank.
highest bank, and
Yeah.
quickest speed.
Is
So
it?
fastest race or whatever it is.
Like
they call
fastest
it.
lap speed or
Yeah,
whatever.
or something like
Yep.
that they call it in the series. And it was funny. So I was over there working. Another mate of mine, Tim Lay, who's who is a race car driver or ex-race car driver.
Is he in relation to the guys that were racing on the weekend? Lay, do you know?
That was Tim Lay. He finished second on the weekend.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's him.
Yep, that's
Okay,
him.
cool.
So,
Yep.
yeah, he runs some car dealerships down in Orange. And so he's mates with Marcus as well.
Right.
And so we were over there. Tim and I flew over and we stayed at Marcus's. Those guys stuffed around and played golf and all this sort of shit. I went to work.
Yeah.
and done some work.
Yep.
Anyway, so we jumped in the car and he had another mate. Marcus' old man was there. Another mate of his, Gibbo from Northern Territory, who's the fencer, was there. And so we drove down to Bristol from Charlotte, which was a few hours.
Yep.
And we were three of us sitting in the back, cracking cans of beers while the boys were driving, we're drinking away. Anyway, we get to Bristol, drop our stuff off into Marcus' motorhome there.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, quick, go on, jump on the golf buggy, let's go. And we're going through the tunnel. And there was this Richard Petty driving experience.
Yep.
There, and they're doing rides. Anyway, there's a massive line of people, a couple hundred people. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Marcus was like, oh, come down here. And me and Tim are like, no, mate, we're going to get beaten up here, trying to push in. Anyway, so he's walked straight to the front of the line because he used to work for Richard Petty driving experience when he first went there.
Oh, really?
In America.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah, come down here, get your suit on, do this. And Tim and I jumped in a car each.
Yep.
And Mark's got his head in the window to the driver who he knew because he'd worked with him.
Yeah.
Going, go as fast, go quicker with these guys in there. And it was the best experience. Never felt so much, your bum pushing through the floor
Wow.
of a car.
Downforce.
Downforce.
Yeah.
And also probably being half drunk from the beers on the trip down.
Yep.
But it was a pretty cool experience.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to drive one?
No, I never drove one.
Didn't drive one?
No,
Yep.
never have.
Cool to get a ride in one though.
It would be pretty cool, but
Yeah.
they're just a totally different beast.
Yeah. Yeah. So especially someone like yourself that's driven professionally for so many years, it'd be a good experience, you know?
Yeah.
Just an outsider. You see him in Vegas doing the hire thing and
Yeah.
I look at that and go, gee, it'd be fun, but I wouldn't get to appreciate it as much as someone that actually drives a car.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think so. My old man's driven one.
Yeah.
He drove one at Disney over in Florida.
Yeah, right.
At a conference and,
Yeah.
drove one. So,
Did you go to the NASCAR that weekend in Bristol? The race?
yes.
Mate, that would have been, because that's, for people listening, like that's one of the ones that people say to go to, you know, especially when NASCAR was booming.
Yeah, and so, it's the shortest track, quickest, highest banks.
Yeah.
And
Crowds are on top of you.
Crowds on top of you. So when you're actually sitting in the grandstand,
Yep.
when the race is going, the grandstand shakes.
Really?
Yeah, you can feel it shake and move.
Wow.
Because it's like a vortex.
So this isn't just the beers?
No, it's like a vortex,
Yep.
and just the wind from the cars going
Yep.
around makes all the grandstand move and shake and everything like that. It's
Wow.
100 and I think I get 120,000, 140,000 people used to get to that race.
Yep.
And massive.
What I appreciate with American sport, and after going to a lot of events in Australia and that, we went to Indianapolis, 180,000 people for the Brickyard 400. They open up 8 lanes of traffic. Everyone's out in 20 minutes. The feel, everything about it's just so well done.
Yes.
The crowds are, I don't know, it's just got a different vibe to Australian motorsport.
Oh, exactly. And they do it well,
Really well.
over there. They do it well. They try to get people in and out, all that sort of stuff. I remember here we had a first race at Queensland Raceway.
Oh, yeah.
That they had. And I think, there was traffic that was banked up for like 10, 15 Ks trying to get into there.
It was like a 5-hour drive or something.
Something like that. And most of the drivers got caught in the traffic. We couldn't get in there. Like some only got there like 2 minutes before the warm up on the Sunday morning for the race.
Wow.
Stuff like that. We don't do here in Australia. We don't do sporting events of getting people in and out.
No.
Really easy.
No, we've got a good event, but the other side of it, like those things, like where they just shut down.
Yeah.
You open the path up so people can get in and out, and then worry about the rest. And I really appreciate that. Indianapolis is in the city, based in Speedway.
Yeah, that's right.
So they just worried about the people in there.
Yeah,
there's 180,000 people, and everyone drove a car by themselves at Simpson. Yeah,
so exactly.
The biggest car we can get by ourselves.
Yeah.
But it just really opened my eyes up.
Yeah, they do a good job. So
now F1. At some point, you got into F1 as well with the PWR side of it. Is that in your time as well?
Yeah. So I think it was about 2008 was the same year we started with F1.
Yep.
I wasn't there, but we're at a motorsport show in the UK.
Oh, right.
And so we'd opened up our branch in the UK. We had it open for a couple of years, and it wasn't really sort of going that.
Well, like manufacturing or just
just an office with a salesman, a couple of salesmen in there, and we weren't sort of getting much traction and all that sort of stuff. We were getting a little bit, and so we went to, I think it was an Autosport show, and so there's the UK guy in the UK who ran the office and still runs the office now over there.
Yeah.
Our head engineer Matthew Bryson, who's here on the Gold Coast, and Keys.
Yep.
And so Andy, who runs the UK, saw Pat Simmons. So Pat Simmons was a designer, been around for a long, long time. So Williams era, very famous Williams designer part there. Also Renault and all that sort of stuff. So at the time, I think he was at Renault.
Yep.
And so they sort of grabbed him or tackled him, I'd say. And pulled him into the stand. Yeah, pulled him into the stand, and Pat said, "Well, if you can make a radiator," he said, "we get a lot of people tell us they can do this, do that, and they'll do it, and we'll never hear from them again or never see them."
Yeah.
And so he gave us a design. We made a radiator. It probably took us about a month to make it.
Yeah.
It was a funny looking shape and all that sort of stuff. Like Formula One stuff is, it's not straightforward. And so we made it, they tested it, and then somehow Red Bull, who ran Renault engines, got a hold of it.
Wow.
And said, we want you to make a radiator and oil cooler and all, and that for us to test at winter testing.
Yep.
So then another couple of months later, we got all that stuff to them. And it was literally, actually taking months to make these one or
individual
two, three parts, because it was just all different shapes, and it was coming up with ways of how to manufacture them and turn it into more of a process, being able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so Red Bull come back to us after winter testing and said, we want you guys on the car for this season. We're like, okay. And we said, okay, how many sets do you want? Oh, we want like 30 sets.
Holy crap.
And we're like, holy crap. That'll be like 3 years of making while we're going this time. Yeah. We come up with ways of how to make them quicker and how to, engineer them better and all that sort of stuff and the processes. And the Red Bull guys, we met them in Melbourne at the first round at the GP, and they said, well, we want you to, supply us. We measured in testing from the radiators that we were running to running your radiators was 0.3 of a second a lap gain.
Wow.
Because it was we gave them a restriction in drag, so less drag, and that so it created more speed. So we're like, oh, that's cool. And then they're like, well, hang on, we want you guys to do a deal with us and supply us. 0.3 of a second a lap gain. Wow. Because it was we gave them a restriction in drag, so less drag, and that so it created more speed. So we're like, oh, that's cool. And then they're like, well, hang on, we want you guys to do a deal with us and supply us. 0.3 of a second a lap gain. We want you guys to do a deal but we don't want you to supply of other teams. And we're like, oh, well, we can't really do that. And they're like, which teams? And oh, yeah, so there's a red one next year and there's a Mercedes team there and all that sort of stuff. And, oh, yeah, we don't want you to supply them. And so that's how our Red Bull relationship started.
Yep.
And, we're a technical partner with Red Bull Formula One. We're a technical partner with, most of the Red Bull stuff around the world of motorsport. We're a technical partner with those teams.
Yep.
So that's where that sort of started and that sort of grew. And we, in that stage, that was when Red Bull won their 3 or 4 world championships in a row with Vettel.
Yep.
And Mark Webber was there. And we had a very good run with all that, but it made us push our limits of manufacturing and push our limits of technology of what we could have, and how we reacted to change and how we could put that through a process in manufacturing, and to be able to have that technology run down from what we were doing in Formula One to what we were doing in someone's road car or someone's burnout car or someone's drag car. Yeah.
Wow.
And a lot of the stuff now, everyone probably thinks that it's all specialised stuff and only goes to Formula One. What a lot of it is now, but the technology actually comes down.
And that's why your prototype vehicles are. That's why the manufacturers support it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it filters down, I guess.
Yeah, and as technology, you look at Formula E.
Yep.
I suppose it's it's the green technology of batteries and all that sort of stuff. And I think one day we'll probably might not have a race or Formula One cars with engines in them.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know. But that's why manufacturers support different categories and different series around the world, is so that they can, whatever they're aligned to at the time, they can push through and then push through that technology.
Yeah, and it's huge, like to see that and to see someone that's been involved in it, to see, okay, this has come from this and this is where it's at now. It's cool to see.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you like when you're doing something with Formula One, you say a technical partner, it's literally not just supply a product and walk away. Hey, I'm guessing like that. They must want some support over the years as well. I'm guessing. Or how does that work?
Yeah, so we do a fair bit. I think the good thing about how we sort of done it with Formula One was it doesn't really make a difference who the customer was or the team was.
Yeah.
We always still the service and the support. We always still gave that to them. Some teams paid more for that. Mm-hmm. Some teams probably got more than what they paid for.
Yep.
But that was just how we were with, the passion of being able to, come up with a solution for our engineering, something to do that was very difficult that no one else could do. I know, like, when we first went to McLaren with Honda engines, to cool the batteries for the power pack for the Honda engine.
Yep.
The way that they designed it was uncoolable. Like you couldn't, no one else could build a cooler to actually design to be able to fit how they built the power packs for the batteries.
Yep.
And we ended up coming up with a design of how to do it, and we turned water around into one tube so that it come in and out of the same tube. And it was basically like big, sort of like fingers pointing together that would get strapped to this power pack and cool the battery for it. And to this day, I think they still use the same cooler.
Wow.
But it's you're talking $30,000 or $40,000 for a cooler.
Yeah.
And that's where it is, and that's when you try to start to produce stuff that's they're all not standard shape, they're not square. Everything is all is either twisted, it's cut in funny shapes. The fins are turned a little bit sideways on a different angle, and that to come up with the ways to manufacture one-off pieces.
Yep.
All cost money. And that's been, obviously a big winner for PWR is because no one else can turn around in a short time frame to be able to manufacture something, for Formula One like PWR can. And that's, why they have, I think, out of a whole series, they don't have one team.
Wow.
So it's one team that they don't supply.
Now you're not part of it as such. Like your name's still on it.
Yeah.
Not that it's weird, but it's nice to carry a fair bit of pride still, hey?
Oh yeah, definitely, and definitely for you look at the guys who are there still. There's guys who have been there for 25 years.
Wow.
Who are there at the start. There was guys who are still there, who are there now, who were at K&J Radiators.
Really?
Who when Keys left K&J after he sold it.
Yep.
And we started our own manufacturing stuff here. Said, rang up and said, can we come and work for you guys?
Yep.
There's been guys probably over 30 odd years who work for our family for over 30 odd years. So, there is still a fair bit of pride. There's, pride of a business that you started that you didn't think that anyone would, why would someone want to buy my radiators?
Wow.
Why would, Larry Perkins want to buy a radiator off me? That's how I thought back in the 90s when I first started.
Yeah. It's like the imposter, hey?
Yeah.
Like, why would they want my stuff? Yep.
Exactly. And, went from that to what it is now, to a public listed company now with, 300 odd people. And I think market value of, nearly 600 million is amazing. And it's a big ship now.
Yeah.
It's a big ship.
Yeah.
And, it's even like when we floated. We didn't think, why would people want to buy our shares?
Yeah. Next thing, it just took off, eh?
It just took off,
Yep.
First day the share price doubled.
Wow.
Then we thought, oh, shit, we floated it too cheap. But, but it was always a thing of, and I suppose it's what we've always done, is that, you've got to have a fair price for a
Yep.
fair deal, all that sort of stuff. And that's what we thought when we floated, And, you look at the business is very, very good, and it's always growing. The technology is growing.
Yep.
The investment that they invest in the business is always growing to be able to produce better products. And, they do a lot of one-off bespoke stuff. But there's, a lot of stuff that people don't see, within, small car manufacturing stuff like Pagani's or Ferrari,
Yep.
like Ferrari stuff or Porsches. Like we done the
OEM stuff.
OEM stuff. Like we
Yep.
done the Porsche 918 Spider.
Mm-hmm.
Porsche produced 918 cars.
Oh.
Back, I don't know, late 2000s or whatever it was.
Was that the car that had the wheel motors?
Uh,
Had some sort of different motor setup. I think it was like a hybrid wheel motor.
There was a hybrid, yeah.
It was, wasn't it?
So, we produced that for Porsche.
Wow.
We do, like they do a lot of R&D stuff there for car manufacturers and, for these new cars. And it gets to a point where it gets to the stage of, the volume of cars
Yep.
turns on us because we can't produce that for cheap enough.
Right.
And that's where PWR has always been good. We didn't worry about, we don't want to produce high volume
Yep.
and be cheap.
Special.
We want to produce small volume, have a quality good, and be expensive.
Yep.
And that's why I think it's always been successful. And people are willing to pay for good quality stuff that actually works.
Yeah. To specialist vehicles.
Yeah.
They want the best
Yeah.
best that they can get, I guess. eh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So-
It's one of those things as a brand that's just been everywhere over the last 20 years, eh? Like
Yeah, it sure
quite-
has.
quite
It's
often.
it's amazing. Sometimes you think, what they're going to do next, how are they going to do, what's the next part of what they're going to do. I know that, there's space companies that they deal with, there's aircraft companies, there's, stuff like that, is something going to be on the moon next? You know,
Yeah.
or whatever. But
And that's your name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
It is cool.
I see this year the KTM MotoGP team, obviously Red Bull KTM. That's probably the tie-in at that point as well. But same thing, supplier of radiators, I'm pretty sure, for MotoGP now. So
Yeah, MotoGP, also Honda
as well.
MotoGP, yeah. I see that they're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, MotoGP was it's probably KTM. I think it's been the last couple of years.
Yeah. Okay.
Honda was last year as well.
Yep.
I know we tried for a long time.
Right.
With MotoGP, it was very difficult
Yep.
to sort of break into. Obviously, because you got the teams are in Europe, but then the factories, the factories are in Europe as well. But then the decisions get made in Japan.
Yeah.
And the Japanese market is a very different market, and very different to actually go to and deal with.
Yeah.
Might be a bit easier now, but I know, when we were going there with our own, our own guy, our own distributor in Japan, and we go because we used to do the GT stuff for the like the DTM series that they used to run over there.
Yep.
And it was based off DTM, so it was a controlled product. And the translation between going to a factory or going to Honda, for example, and the guys that you're dealing with can't speak English. We can't speak Japanese.
Yeah.
And our guy who was our distributor could do both. And then you could see him torn because, lost in translation a little bit of stuff. And so it was very hard. And, we had one stage of, guy at Honda going, "Oh no, it's too expensive." We're going, "Well, hang on, if that's what you want, that's what you got to pay."
Yep.
And you can't have anything else because that's what you have to have.
Yep.
With the rules. And that was like a 2-hour conversation of back and forth.
Just for this one?
Just for this on price.
Wow.
On one thing. So, that's where if I say the Japanese side of things where you're dealing with the Japanese at the factory,
Yep.
it's very, very, very difficult to you're dealing with so many people on all different levels. But at the end of the day, especially for Honda, the motorcycle team is the decisions are made in the factory in Japan, not in Europe at the race team.
Absolutely.
So that was a really, really good thing. The engineers here who got that deal to happen and done all the work on it, done a very good job of all that. Sometimes you can go to a place and it can be really, really easy.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it can be really hard and you go, why did I go there?
Bang your head against the wall. And that Brent Stevens, who's been Valentino's mechanic for a lot of years, so I had him on a while back.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting thing from him saying the European engineer or Japanese European engineers that would come to the races were different to what you'd hear in the factory. So you get to the first test and you don't hear anything until that team arrives.
Yeah.
It's like two teams basically.
Yeah.
And that's what you're saying. So
Yeah,
it's interesting.
exactly.
Like you've got one of these different aspects for me to look at as well with you're a tool maker by trade.
Yep.
Plus you're a racer. So you've seen both sides of it in professional business. What's been one of the better factories you've seen on your travels? Like I'm sure, say going to NASCAR places and stuff, you've seen some pretty cool stuff along the way.
Oh, there's some really good stuff. Like you can see, you go to Hendrick Motorsport, NASCAR team, mega factory, but you don't get to see a lot of it.
Really?
Especially some of the race teams that they restrict you. Roush, we would get to see everything.
Yep.
Through the factory, all that sort of stuff. I think probably manufacturing wise, like I've seen assembly plants at Porsche in Germany.
Yep.
Where they're 911s and everything's coming down the assembly line and robots are going by you and all that sort of stuff. The 918 Spider, they built their own purpose-built assembly line for a car that they only produced 918 of. That's how specialised that one was.
Yep.
So it didn't disrupt their main assembly lines. I've been to Roush Engineering in Detroit, where they do lot of engineering for Ford for road car stuff.
Because they make the superchargers and Roush Mustangs and stuff, don't they?
They do stuff for the Mustangs. They do a lot of stuff just engineering wise for Ford in new cars. And you get to see cars that you probably shouldn't see that's under a cover that someone might show you that's a new car that's coming out in 2 or 3 years' time.
Yep.
First pre-production cars and all that sort of stuff. So you get to see a fair bit of good stuff. Formula One factories are really, really hard to get into. I've been to Ferrari where we get through the front gate and we go to an office and then we come back out.
Really?
Stuff like that. So everyone's different.
Yep.
Red Bull is a pretty cool factory. You got a car, on its side with glass around it as you walk in, all that sort of stuff. There's heaps of really cool stuff that you see.
Coming from racing dirt bikes at Hatches to doing this stuff, do you pinch yourself sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes you do. You just go, well, hang on, it's sort of how life is pretty good.
Lots of hard work and things.
A lot of hard work.
But it's pretty surreal. You see, look at me. I'm been to some of these pretty cool places,
Yeah, exactly right. There's no doubt about that, and you get to go to a lot of best racetracks around the world, or to go and experience cool things that you'd never thought that you'd do, and I suppose that's part of the journey.
Yep.
And being able to appreciate that is also good.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people when they're racing don't get to appreciate it because you're just so tied up in that 9 to 5 of racing. I guess when you get on the other side of the business and sort of seeing it, I think you might get more of a maybe more of a chance. I'm not sure. Hey.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you're right. Sometimes when you're doing stuff and as a job, you might not appreciate as much as what it is if you look back and go, oh, hang on, as a passion, if you go and someone else who's very passionate about that goes and does it, they wet their pants. That type of thing. It's definitely cool.
So you did Supercars from EL 98 to about 2008.
Yep.
How did it change in that time?
The cars changed a fair bit. The technology changed.
Yeah.
A fair bit in 10 years. The technology changed. The sport got more expensive. In that 10 years. It's just technology with more so the computer side of things.
Like the data.
And that you got more data and having the people to be able to read that and translate that properly.
Yep.
Is a huge amount of things compared to when we first started. We probably had a computer, but we didn't really know how to use it and read it. And I suppose going from a single car team to a 2-car team is a massive step also. And it's as a driving aspect, it's a good step because you've got someone else's data to overlay.
Yeah.
So if you're behind or if you're in front, you can see where you're behind or where your weaknesses are, and where the positives are. Or you can just see, if you've got a really good driver, you can just see all your weaknesses. But it helps you go, okay, I can push a little bit harder in that corner. I can get on the brakes later here. I'm not carrying enough speed, or I'm not doing this, or hang on, what sort of line, what line are you taking compared to me? Why is that? Why are you a 10th quicker through there? Or whatever it may be. And that's where that technology and also having 2 cars makes a massive difference.
Yeah, and that's where the teams, 2 to 4 car teams, they really get the benefit of that, don't they now?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. And
as long as you can read it.
As long as you read it, always helps. But there's guys, in the series who are very good engineering side of things, who are very, very good, and they rely on that data religiously. Where back in the early 90s or late 90s when we first started, it was feel. And there's some stuff now, I'm sure, but it's still feel. You look at Jamie Whincup, compared to he's still at the top of his game, But you know, you look at his teammate Shane Van Gisberg. You know, he's at the top of his game, and he's more of a driver who Gizzy's probably more of a driver who goes by feel, but works very well with his engineer. You know, the translation between the two is obviously working very, very, very well this year
for sure.
Between him and Couchy, who was Jamie's engineer. You know, so
it's really helped him. Not helped him, but it's obviously just a golden time. You know, people come into something. He seems to be into that time. Hey.
Yeah, I think so. And you know, you look towards the end of last year, it was very quick anyway.
Yep.
And so time will tell. We've had a couple of rounds, and he's been very quick. Even with a broken collarbone, he was very quick.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how those two go. Where you look at, Jamie this year looks like he's probably, you've already announced that he was going to retire and all that sort of stuff. So he's probably maybe the throttles come off a little bit, but it's one of those things of how much you use that technology, who you got working with you on the other side of it, who's reading it and telling it and translating, and working out how you translate your feedback to the car and what changes they need to make, to be able to improve the car from what you're telling them.
From the morning to the hour, everything's changing as well too.
Yeah, and the weather.
Yep.
Yeah, the heat, the track temperature. We saw that a lot this year at Bathurst. Was the track temperature changed a lot because, usually when we're there, it's not as hot.
Yeah. Yep.
And guys couldn't pass. If there wasn't much passing.
No, it's weird, eh?
Yeah. So it's having that whole package as a team and with the technology and what stuff you got to be able to rely on.
Yep.
Is a massive sort of input into how you drive the car and how the results will come.
When in your time, you went to Holden after a while, hey? And that was when Holden had a bit of a funny sort of not a funny era, but there's like a bit of a split, I guess, with the Holden team and stuff. Was that a weird time to go across to that?
Well, we originally went across back in 2003 was because so TWR, which was Tom Walkinshaw Racing, which was which was HRT.
That was the
which
team.
Was the team, and then they had at that time Kmart Racing.
Yep.
Okay, out of the same stable, and so Holden, we spoke with Holden with HRT. John Crennan was a guy who ran HRT or HSV at the time,
and he'd been there for
a long time.
Yep.
And so obviously they had Peter Brock in the stables of years before.
Yeah.
And Brocky was a good seller of merchandise.
Yeah. The name needed to be still around the sport.
Still needed to be around the sport. So it was a good seller of merchandise for them. And they wanted to, they had a driver, Jason Bright, who they didn't have enough room for, or, the personality of Mark Scaife at the time at HRT and Jason Bright probably might have clashed or something like that. And so they asked us if we would, we had some licenses and all that sort of stuff. So they created a third team back in the day, if you'd say team, because you couldn't have more than 4 cars. And so we were a customer team.
Yeah.
To away.
With your own license?
With our own licenses, yeah.
Okay.
And so the first year they called it Team Brock.
Yep.
Okay, and Peter was the figurehead sort of thing of Team Brock, if you wanted to call it that.
Yep.
And basically it was for merchandise for them.
Yep.
And that because the merchandise for back in early 2000s was mega.
Yeah.
The amount of money they'd make out of merchandise was ridiculous.
It'd fund the team.
It'd fund a team now.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's obviously why they done it, and they still wanted Peter around, and we done that for the first year, and that was unfortunately when TWR went bankrupt in Europe with the Formula 1 team.
Yep.
And so Holden, guy from Holden flew to Europe and bought the 3 teams off the receivers.
Yeah, okay.
Well, the problem was that in supercars, a manufacturer wasn't allowed to own a team.
Ah.
Okay, so they had to disperse the teams to somewhere.
Yep.
So that's when Mark Scaife got
He got a team.
a team. We don't think he really paid that much for it. Ourselves had Team Brock, and that which ended up turning into PWR.
Yep.
And then the Kelly family got Kmart Racing.
Yep.
And so, it was an interesting time because, we weren't allowed to test. Team Brock wasn't allowed to test
Really?
because they grouped all of us.
Yeah, okay.
And so it made it very hard. We had to prove to, I think it was a Vesco at the time, which is Supercars,
Yeah.
was that we weren't, under the same roof.
Because I have a memory of the first round of the year there was talk of it, probably the team may not even go.
Yep.
That was right, hey?
Yep.
It was because of the ownership troubles and stuff. Yep.
Yeah, and I think the first race of the year was at the Grand Prix in Melbourne.
Formula One. Yep.
Yeah, Formula One, and I think it was only until like the Thursday night or something like that where they decided that yes, we could go and race.
Wow.
Yep.
That's huge, eh?
Which is pretty big, yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the amount of money that had been invested into it and time to get to that stage.
Yeah.
We're going, well, we don't know if we go let you race. Makes it very difficult. Like that year, we finished second in the championship.
Yep.
I think it was to Marcus, with Jason Bright driving. We had 2 test days.
For the whole year?
For the whole year. I think the budget that we spent was around about $3 million for 2 cars.
Doesn't seem like much nowadays.
It wasn't much back then neither,
Really?
compared to what HRT was spending
Yep.
and stuff like that. Nowadays they're spending $8 million for 2 cars, or
Wow.
some say more. So we done it on basically a shoestring budget, but everyone who worked there put in like no tomorrow, and
Believed in it.
Yeah, that's why we went so well on a small budget.
It was a weird time, for the sport, hey, at that sort of time, and then so what happened after that? You kept your guys' licenses, hey, for the next few years. After that.
we separated out of
the fold,
the fold of
Yep.
the HSV sort of fold area.
Yep.
And because there's too much politics in it.
Did John Crennan stay around for long after that? It must have been around the time that I think he departed too.
I think somewhere around there he departed. It was around that era.
Yep.
I think it was probably about another year or 2 after that. I think he departed.
Okay.
A couple of years after that, I think it was.
Yep.
And there was a fair bit of politics in that area. So we used to all be in Clayton.
Yep.
In a business park there at Clayton where HSV was.
Mm-hmm.
And you could walk into any of the factories and all that sort of stuff. And when it was all 3 under one roof, it was all fine. But then when there was 3 different owners,
Yeah.
it was all secret squirrel stuff and all this sort of shit.
Yep.
And so it just become too hard, and there was too much backstabbing and
Yep.
everything like that. There was a stage where Dencar, which was a manufacturer who built all the cars for the TWR group.
Yep.
All the race cars, and so that was independently owned. And anyway, so we ended up buying it,
Dencar.
Dencar,
Yep.
and secretly bought it. And then when Scaife found out, he threw his toys out of the cot and everything like that. So we ended up selling it back to the guy who we bought it from, just because it was too difficult.
Yeah.
That was the type of stuff that you're dealing with. I think sometimes what happens is racing people don't have a business mind.
Mm.
Okay, we bought it as a business, and racing people will buy something. Well, we'll see someone else, a competitor, buying something as a threat to them because they don't have a business mind.
Yeah.
It's a racing. Oh, what about us?
Yeah.
So it's a difficult thing for that, and that's why one of the biggest things why we actually just moved away from that group and done our own thing. Ended up doing our own thing in the end, which was probably more, in hindsight, probably more detrimental to us than to anything, because we went away and I think it was 2005, we ran Larry Perkins engines.
Yep.
Instead of running TWR engines, and we had engine issues all year. We just had a bad year with engines.
Yep.
I think our first test day we shit 2 engines.
Wow.
Brand new engines.
Brand
spanking new engines, and that was first year Greg Murphy drove for us. So it was timing of all that sort of stuff, and that was the year that I ended up saying, hey, I've had enough. I'm out. That was 2005, and I suppose that the thing is, you make these choices as a race team to try to best benefit you, or you think you're doing the right thing, but sometimes it bites you on the bum.
It catches up the other way. Just the politics, that's the frustrating part. I think that'd just do your head in.
Yeah, the politics really, really big. I think it's probably still the same now.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. You see it. And that was one of the biggest things, because we'd never been. Well, we've sort of been in that environment for a few years with supercars, but we'd never been in that intense environment of politics of people trying to stab you in the back so they can make $2 more off you, or instead of you getting it, they get it, and all that sort of stuff. In teams, I suppose in any professional sport, always look for edges or ways around and I think the other thing is, you look at people, I suppose you wouldn't call it cheating, but pushing the limits of the envelope, really. Stuff like that. So it's, as a professional sport, it's very, very difficult, because you've got so many mechanical parts. It's not an individual sport. It's, a team sport, even though there's one guy driving, but it's still a team sport. So it's very, it can be very political and very frustrated, even within a team. You see that some of these teams now, you look at some people who have probably left race car teams in the last year to different teams because they weren't happy with either management or the way things were going. It's there is still a lot of stuff where there's infighting in teams, and that can be detrimental to the team.
Definitely. It's such an intense environment. There's so much on the line. And but I don't know, sometimes you need to take a step back, I think. Some people... What we said before about 888, supplying things like pedal boxes and stuff like that now. We were saying about manufacturing and whatnot. It's been a good thing that they do that too, along the way of... they're still racers, and at some point there would have been the business, take the business out of it. It would have been like, let's do this just for ourselves. We're making the best thing for ourselves. But then you look at it, why not get everyone else strong and have the best equipment too? We supply the best car, whatever it may be, but it's quite smart as well. Like, they're obviously racer, plus it's a sales business in a way too, isn't it?
Oh, exactly. And I think, you look at 888.
It's a mixture.
It's they're a very good engineering company.
Yeah.
And even though they're a race car team, they're an engineering company.
They understand that you need to have both. Yeah.
And they've had some very good people there over the years, and not a lot of people really leave 888. If you're good, you sort of stay there.
Yep.
So, but you look at on the business side of things, they've done a very good job of being able to, as you said, being able to produce stuff.
Yeah.
And first of all, they produce it for themselves. But anyone can go there and buy exactly what they run.
For sure.
You can go and buy Jamie's car. You can go and buy Shane's car.
Yeah.
If you had the money and you want to pay the price that Ryan wants for it, you can go and buy it. I'll just go and build another car.
What's a car worth now, do you know?
I have no idea.
No idea these days?
No idea. But it'd be a lot.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot. Yeah.
A lot different to 150 grand.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. I think even 10 years ago, you think back of going racing the development series, it cost you $500,000 to do the year, and they used to do like 6 races.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I hate to think of if you're going to pay for a drive to go and do something.
Yeah, it's nuts. I remember reading an Auto Action about the VT time when Craig had the VT, and it was the most expensive car ever built for Australian motorsport. I think it was.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think it was 300 and something thousand.
Yep.
At that time.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, that's huge money. I can only imagine what it's escalated to now.
Exactly.
So, why like your time, like 98 to 2005 as a driver, for someone that didn't come from cars, why were you a good driver?
I don't know if I was.
Mate, you competed in our premium category for
Yeah.
a number of years. You must have done all right.
Yeah, I done okay. I don't know. I think when you come from a dirt background,
Yeah.
too, isn't really too bad of a thing because you have more feel in what's happening underneath you.
Yep.
I suppose. And if you look at NASCAR, a lot of drivers from NASCAR come from Speedway.
Yep.
Or it's dirt track over there. That's where that path sort of happens. So yeah, I'm not quite sure why. I think determination. You sort of, I know over the years I had a lot of crashes because you always go for, if there was a spot to or a move to be on, you'd always go for it. And sometimes that stuff worked out, and sometimes it didn't.
It's like the business. You take the tube.
Exactly. You take that chance.
Yep.
That's what you got to try to do as a driver. I think we're more successful in endurance racing, as in like your Bathurst and all that sort of stuff, and probably I was in sprint racing.
Okay.
Because I was probably never a really good qualifier. I could couldn't qualify a car, get as much out as what other people would in a lap.
Yep.
But I could race a car and be consistent over a longer time than lots of other people did. You look at Adelaide 500, we finished third there one year. Always finished pretty good there. In the Holden days, we finished pretty good there. It's a race where, it does make a difference where you qualify, but, like I wasn't really a great qualifier, but could race and be consistent in races. We always finished well there. Sort of longer races was always better because of consistency, and I suppose, that was probably one of the strengths, for us, at a Bathurst or at a 500k race or whatnot. Was probably where we were good compared to other people.
What was it like driving at Bathurst?
Bathurst was awesome. Place is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Drivers all around the world go, I want to race at Bathurst. Europeans that come out here, you get Americans come out here, and they come and race around there and they shit themselves. They're slow, slow as around there and stuff, because it's a really hard track to sort of get, because you got walls that are really close and bite hard, which I know that they do bite hard. But you got stuff where you're on two wheels, you're dropping down through the dipper and stuff like that. You go going down the going up Mountain Straight, and you come over the hump, and your wheels spin up over the hump basically. You get really light. It feels like your car's lifting off the ground in places. Especially in the rain. Like I've been around there in the rain before, where we've started a race under safety car, and you can't even see the car in front of you until the brake light's go on.
Stuff that.
And that's where oh shit, hang on, the corner's coming up, we've got to brake. It's just one of those places. Just it's people say Nürburgring, Le Mans, Monaco, Formula One,
it's like the bucket list places, isn't it?
all that sort of stuff. Indianapolis, all that sort of stuff. The Indy 500. Everyone has one of those things that they want to try to tick off. And that's Bathurst. That's if you go anywhere around the world and talk to a race car driver, and you talk about supercars or you talk about a track in Australia, and they talk about Bathurst, that's,
Everyone wants that one.
Exactly.
Do you remember your first lap there?
It was very slow.
Very, very slow. Jeez, it'd be such a weird feeling.
Well, first time I actually went around Bathurst was in a Toyota Hi-Ace van.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Slow lap?
Yeah, I think it was in 1998. We used to do the Supercar series Australian Touring Car Championship back then.
Yep.
Used to finish. We used to finish in, I think it was September or something. The championship, and then after the last round, we would go to Bathurst and do a press day.
Okay.
At Bathurst. So, and then we'd come back, a
4
month
weeks
later
later.
and come and do the 1,000. And so we went up there for the press day, and day before drove around in the high-ace van, doing 60 k's, and shit ourselves doing 60 k's an hour around the track in a van. How am I going to go around here at over 200? So yeah, it is just a, it's just one of those places where it's just cool.
Yeah, it's just got a feel, hey?
Yeah.
I think that was the Jason Bright, Stephen Richards year.
98.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
I think pack leader
Yeah.
or per tech car or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was that track, mate. I rode it just. I've been to the races and stuff. I've been around it a few times and nothing, but I rode it in February on my ZX10.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy, but I was just coming down there just thinking, it's just nuts.
Yeah, it is.
Just doing 60k through the dipper and you're
Yep.
just coming through thinking, I don't know how people do it.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I know.
I don't know how they race bikes there.
I don't know how they definitely have a death wish.
Yeah. But it's just got something about it, eh?
It does.
Did you watch the 6 Hour on the weekend?
No, I didn't watch any of it.
Didn't watch any of it?
Didn't watch any of it, but
You had a huge crash up there, obviously in 8.
yeah, 08, yep.
Full recovery now.
Yeah, I think full recovery. I broke my L1 to L4 or L5 in my back.
Did it scare you?
Probably how close it was to either being here or not being here.
Wow.
That's what sort of scared.
Yeah.
I had punctured lung, split spleen, as well, and it's sort of. I think when you look at the car, you look at the car afterwards. We had a part of a roll cage broke off, and had started going into the seat. And so if that had gone through the seat, would have went through and probably come through my chest. Stuff like that. You look at, maybe if it was hit 2 inches further forward, it was 2 inches closer to the driver's door. I think the only benefit was that we got hit in the driver's side door, but in the passenger, the rear door, that's where the sort of full force happened. So if you look at that, probably it's one of those things of you sort of got to look and go, shit, I was lucky.
Yeah.
Very lucky. I suppose if you look at, I know you had Matty Mingay and on here before, and you look at his crash in Detroit, where I think it was in Detroit, in the stadium truck. For just the way he hit, was just unlucky.
Very. Yep.
And everything like that. But it shows what. It's just one of those things, and I think one of the things is if your time's up, your time's up. I think that in life, no matter what.
Yeah.
And people say they've seen the light and all that sort of stuff, and I can say it's true.
Yeah.
You in that situation, you do, or I did, see what people talk about.
Yeah.
And so that's how close it come to, sort of not being here. When you get hit at 200 k's an hour, and you're stationary. The first hit was big enough when I hit the wall myself.
So is the second hit that did more damage?
Yeah, second hit done all the damage.
All the damage.
All the damage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
So you're conscious when you got the second hit?
Yep, conscious, or pretty much all the way through it. I don't remember I remember going into the ambulance at the top of the mountain.
Yep.
I don't remember the ride down.
Really?
At all.
Days later, I'm guessing you're awake?
And no, I was awake through the whole. I woke up. I remember being in the medical centre down
really?
the bottom. Yeah. But just don't remember that part. Don't know why. And then remember the whole thing. Remember, my wife got there. She was actually in Orange at my mate's house, Tim Lay's.
Yeah.
Getting ready to go to a winery for lunch. and he's ringing her and going, "Hey, you need to get down here now."
Yeah.
And so they had the TV on, but they didn't have the volume on.
Mm.
So she didn't realise the full, fully what happened until she got there.
Yep.
And we had to get into the helicopter, and they flew us to Sydney to Westmead Hospital.
Yep.
And so it's one of those things of you go, shit, I was lucky.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in luck, but that day I did.
There was something there. Yeah.
There was something there, or it wasn't my time. So there's some scary stuff that happens, and
Yep.
It's scary when you go into hospital and you got all these machines, and you're strapped up, you got wired up like a race car, and you don't know what's going on. And the funny thing was, when I went into hospital, we went into emergency. They done everything, and they missed the fractures in my back. And so 2 or 3 days later, I was still in hospital in the spinal ward, and the physio come in and said, "Hey, you need to hop out of bed and start to move and all that sort of stuff." And as soon as I hop up, I felt like my back was snapping in half. And the bruising, around, because obviously you got your harness on when you're strapped in, the bruising was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then so he went back to the spinal specialist who was on that day, and the spinal specialist comes in and goes, "Oh, the reason why you can't walk is because you fractured 5 of your vertebrae in your lower back."
Man.
Stuff like that. So you can see how easy that stuff happens, how especially how they miss stuff in hospitals, I suppose.
Yep.
And the amount, because the thing was, what they were worried about with me was with my spleen being split, if that bled out.
You're going to poison your body.
Yeah. Yep. So that was one of the biggest focuses of what they were focused on to start with. I was lucky to walk away from that. I was lucky still to be able to, walk, I suppose. That sort of, by that stage, I had stopped racing. Well, hadn't stopped racing. I was still doing the enduros.
Yep.
And then after that, I was sort of like, no, I'm pretty much done. With circuit racing, still loved it, everything like that. And so then that's when I, went back to my roots of off-road racing.
Yep. And that's where we're at now.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's huge. And coincidence that, factory move would have been around the same time.
Yep.
I'm guessing, like
Yep.
that was 08.
Yep.
So your business-wise, everything changed at that point too. I guess it's time to focus on that. Life changes, and now we're in trucks, and what are you racing now?
So racing trophy trucks.
Yep.
And so
Love it?
love it. Yeah, I bought Toby Price's old trophy truck here in Australia. I bought it a couple of years ago now. Seeing we didn't have any races last year. We had one race or 2 races end of last year.
Yep.
We had a race a couple of weeks ago out at St George.
So what did you do? You've done last year Goondiwindi and St George?
I've done Goondiwindi and up at Bowen.
Don
River Dash.
Don River Dash.
Yes.
Yep.
Which was a really cool race. And then we had St George, which was the first round Australian Championship.
Yep.
Which we finished 5th in. Qualifying was crap.
Really?
Yeah, I had my skirt on. So that didn't really help us. But we finished 5th, which was really good. Truck ran awesome.
Yep.
It was a really good hit out. Now we're getting ready for Fink, which is in June. And, that's a pretty big, I suppose, they say the Indy 500 is a big month for May. Well, the Fink's a big month for May because we go up there. We go up there and do the Brekkie Bash, which is around the prologue track, start of May. Then we'll go and pre-run for a few days, and we'll go back and forth pretty much 2 or 3 times in May to do pre-running and get ready for the race, which is Queen's birthday weekend.
Yep.
And it's one of those events where qualifying is really important. Very, very important. The further you start towards the front, the bigger gap you get in your start time to the car in front of you and car behind you. So, dust is in an off-road car is a killer.
It's huge.
Is a killer. And it can be, like curtains, like daylight, nighttime, being stuck behind someone.
Yep.
And so that's the most important thing. And, but knowing the track is the most important thing. You got 225 Ks of dirt between Alice and the township of Fink. Where you got whoops over a metre high that you're hitting at over, 160, 170 Ks an hour. And just knowing what's around that corner, that's why people, pre-running is really important.
Yep.
Like they do at Baja 1000, they pre-run the track, or different parts, their sections that they do. That's what we're doing at Fink, and a lot of people spend a lot of time up there to do that. And all I've done is I've watched it on the side of a track before with a car going by.
So you've never done it?
So I've never done it. So I've never done Fink. So, you got, compared to guys like Toby who grew up there on a bike.
Yeah.
I know that they used to say the bike guys used to, cut the corners and stuff like that because they knew that the corner come around here and it'd join back up there, and they cut through and be like, oh, that tree, you got to cut through there and stuff like that. So cars are a little bit different, but they know what I'm getting at, I suppose, is they know the track like the back of their hand.
Yeah.
Toby's navigator isn't really navigating. He's there to change a tyre if he needs to change a tyre.
Yeah.
He's there helping him, but Toby knows more than what the navigator does.
Yeah, the knowledge that he's acquired over the years is huge.
Yeah. So, you're competing against guys like that, who for knowledge and everything like that. You're competing against other guys who have done it 10, 15 times.
Yeah.
So, we're trying to get that learning curve down and get it, learn quick and do it everything quick. And I suppose also we're still learning the truck and learning what goes wrong and learning different things, even though, we got a very good relationship with guys or others who built the truck in America. But they can't come out here.
So are you still in Toby's old truck?
Yeah, still in Toby's old truck. So I bought a new truck last year, which is a full-size truck, which is an unlimited truck.
Which can't compete here.
That can't compete here. So I bought that for America because last year I went and raced at the Mint 400 in Vegas.
Cool. Yep.
And so, full-size truck's a little bit longer wheelbase, a little bit wider, 1,000 horsepower, bigger beast than what we have here. And so what the plan was this year was we thought everything probably would maybe be close to opening up, was to go and do 4 or 5 races in America.
Yep.
Do the Fink here. And, sort of do the Fink, and that's about it.
Yep.
Because really, unfortunately, in Australia, Fink is our biggest race that we have.
Yeah.
And it's most prestigious. It's like years ago, winning a Supercar championship or winning Bathurst.
Yeah.
If you won Bathurst, everyone would remember who won Bathurst.
It was like more than winning an ATCC.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. So we, it's a pretty big preparation that we've got. We built a pre-running Can-Am pre-runner.
Yep.
Especially just to pre-run Fink.
Yep.
We spent a lot of money this year to be able to, give it a best shot, But there's a lot of good guys there. There's probably 10 or 15 cars that are, capable.
It's crazy to see how the sport's changed, that one.
It is.
It's evolving so fast.
People are spending a shitload of money on cars.
Yep.
People are spending $3, $4, $5, $6 or more, $100,000 on buggies, on trophy trucks.
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous.
Do you wish we could have the unlimited trucks here? I personally do. I think it'd be great.
I think it'd be good. I know there is a big push at the moment, for them to be here. I think it would be good because somewhere like Fink, to have a Bryce Menzies or a McMillan or, any of those guys, Harley Letner, come down here and to race Fink, in their own trucks, because most of the guys have got 3 or 4 trucks over there.
Yep.
And the teams will have plenty. They could put them in a container and fly down here and race.
I'm sure they want to.
And there's guys, that do want to. The guys who are winning all the time, the famous guys over there, they all want to come down here and race. Because it's a iconic event.
Yep.
And unfortunately for us, is really there's sort of might be one or two other races where they could run.
Yep.
Because they're just too big for our tracks.
So say St George you did the other week, you'd probably not be able to run?
Just.
Okay.
Probably just. There'd probably be parts where you'd struggle.
Yep.
And that just because of the size of them, or width of them, and everything like that. So a lot of our tracks are based off because we're running through farms and stuff like that, are based off a Toyota Land Cruiser. That's the widths of the track. So you've
fair bit wider. It's what we've had to play with, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So, it would be nice if we could.
Yep.
It'd be nice to have, bigger engines. But you've got, a governing body who sort of runs it with cams and that. You got people who make decisions, and then you got people who want to try to make decisions for themselves, and then you got other people who want to make decisions for the sport.
Yeah.
So, to me, it doesn't make a difference for me. I try to stay out of all that sort of stuff, and other guys get involved in it. I know
you've been in politics in sport before.
Yeah, some other competitors, or we need to be doing this and doing that. Whatever it is, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, all I want to do is go and race, and I've got a truck that's a good truck here. I've got a truck in the States that's a brand new truck that's just sitting there. Unfortunately, but when we can get back there and go and race, we'll be straight back there go and race. Our goal was to go and do the Baja 1000.
Yep.
I think is still our goal. I'd like to have an Australian team at the Baja 1000. Because you have 2 or 3 drivers.
Yep.
And there's some guys here who are capable of being able to mix it with your Menzies, your McMillans, your Lettners, all those, the Herbst family, the legends of the trophy trucks in America. There's guys here, there could be an Australian team that could win it, I think. And that, but it's, it's hard because of the cost.
Yep.
And that's where, unless you got mainstream motorsport like supercars, it's very hard with the cost.
Yep.
And trying to attract sponsors and stuff like that, it's very difficult. I'm in a fortunate situation where, I can afford to go and do it because we've had a successful business, and we can afford to go and do that. But you got guys, like Tobes, who's a professional driver or a professional bike rider. He's a bit of a mix at the moment.
He is, yeah.
Who he relies on someone else paying the bill.
Yep.
And he's a very good driver. He's a very good bike rider. Unbelievably talented guy. But it's even for him with his profile, it's still a struggle to sort of to be able to make sure he gets those funds every year to be able to go and for him he just goes and races Fink.
Yeah.
But he's bought a new truck which is on its way out here and stuff like that. So he's spent a fair bit of money. I know how much a new truck is. It's over more than $500,000. Spent a fair bit of money, and that's got to come from somewhere to try to be able to fund it.
And the usual Australian way is people look at it and go, "Oh, it must be easy for him."
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Nah, it's not.
Yeah, it's not. So I suppose that's the biggest problem with off-road racing.
Yep.
Because it hasn't got the profile on the TV coverage, but it's getting there. Channel 7 are doing some good stuff this year. With Greg Rust on there, and their coverage of Fink is good. And I suppose now the other biggest thing is with social media of how much stuff gets put out on social media.
The individual teams and that can do more. Yeah.
So it's it'll be interesting couple months.
Yeah, I think so. And I see Rusty's coverage in that of like the St George one that you just did.
Yep.
And it's good. Like it's really good. And it's such a sparse place to cover. It's hard to cover,
Well, exactly.
They do a good job, so.
I think at St George the lap was 80 something Ks or something like that.
How do you cover it?
How do you cover 80 Ks
without just having a drone flying in the air the whole time?
Yeah.
What do you think of Don River?
Don River's awesome. Scary, but awesome.
Really? Yeah.
I say scary because So you got buggies and you got trophy trucks, Class 1 buggies and
Yep.
trophy trucks. They are doing 200 and something Ks an hour. You got a side-by-side, okay, doing 130 max.
Wow.
So, being in the dust, with the dust, like the riverbed doesn't make, well, it makes some dust, but not too bad, but still bad enough. And, you're passing cars that you don't even see sometimes. There was once there we passed three Can-Ams into a corner because we missed the corner because we couldn't see because of the dust, but we were going that fast we couldn't stop to take the corner and coming out the other side. It was like an S, and we ended up coming out the other side. Wow. And we were like, oh, geez, we passed 3 cars and didn't die. So,
Sketchy.
that's the scary part of it. But it was an awesome event. Down the dry riverbed, just fast, and, sort of the second day gets really rough.
Yeah, right.
Which is really cool. But the speeds, couple good jumps, it's just a really good event because the town is right behind it. It's all in one spot at the showground there. You start from the showground.
Good for spectators.
Apparently, it's frowned upon to drive down the Hume Highway in your trophy truck. Yeah.
That's a shame.
And at the highway there, it's not the Hume, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's frowned upon. Apparently, you shouldn't do that. But it is a good event.
From everyone's perspective that I've heard so far.
Yeah,
that's
it's awesome.
That's as good as Fink or potentially going to be better.
Yes.
It's got a really good feel to it and
Yep.
everything. So does the modern trophy truck give you the feeling of that one that you jumped into about 97?
It gives you a lot more feeling.
Yeah?
Yeah, a lot more feeling. It's just, these things are just pretty good, like pretty awesome. The biggest problem is with a trophy truck is that we don't, out of the corners, we can't get out of the corner. Slow corners, we can't get out of quick enough.
Right.
Where a buggy, because it's got the engine at the rear, and they're a lot lighter.
Yep.
They're a bit more nimble, can power out of corners really good. Trophy truck engine at the front, 2-wheel drive.
Yep.
You get a fair bit of wheel spin and stuff like that. Now, the ones in the unlimited in America, there's 4-wheel drive trucks. Yep. There's everything. I think the new one that I bought has some type of traction control.
Yep.
Also, on it, the technology that they're doing and the suspension is just getting better and better. But also comes with that is the expense.
Sure.
You go and buy a Mason in America, 4-wheel drive truck, full size 4-wheel drive truck's 1.1 US.
Yep.
Million. It's ridiculous.
To race through a desert.
It's a race through a desert, but the technology on it, the stuff that they got on them are really so good. So good. But that's what happens is more technology.
Yep.
More people are willing to pay. The more people are willing to pay. I suppose you've got families that have done well in business over there that are doing it because they want to do it because they love it.
Yep.
And they'll pay for it.
And it is a good family sport.
It is. Off-road racing is awesome family sport. It's like motocross and supercross.
Goes to that again.
Yeah, is a good family sport. And, that's the reason why, I wanted to get back into racing, off-road racing, was because it's enjoyable. You can go there, have a good time. Doesn't make a difference how you go. Obviously, you always want to try to win.
Yep.
But you can have a good time, and you can do it with your family. And there's not much politics, really. You can get caught up in that side of things if you want to, but there's not much politics. And, everyone sort of camps, everyone has fun, everyone has a beer. It's enjoyable motorsport.
Yep.
And that's why we all started as a kid, because we enjoyed it.
We want to enjoy it.
Yeah. And that's where I suppose all of this stuff, especially in professional motorsport, all of the time people forget that.
Yeah, and that's it's something that's been missing, and I hope it comes back. And these sports like stadium trucks and that are bringing it back. I feel anyway. So
yeah,
mate, we've been going for over 2 hours.
Okay,
I've got to let you go because we've chewed through every bit of memory card and batteries that I have here, and I could literally talk. I've got so many things to talk to you about. I could talk to you for hours, but I better let you go too, mate.
All right, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Thanks, mate.